Welcome to the Top Talent and Immigration Show with your host, Kaushik Ranchod. In this show, we discuss how companies and top talent in America overcome immigration obstacles and help create freedom and prosperity in America.
Kaushik Ranchod here. I'm the founder of Top Talent and Immigration, where I talk with leading researchers, business leaders, and attorneys on how they overcome big challenges in the immigration process and business. In this episode, we're going to be talking about immigration and the University Center for Global Education, and this episode is brought to you by Ranchod Law Group. Ranchod Law Group's mission is to provide freedom and prosperity for immigrants and help more businesses to connect to top talent. Ranchod Law Group believes that immigrants add tremendous value to the U.S. economy and helps companies facing a shortage of talent to make up that gap and grow thanks to the immigrant talent that contribute to their bottom line. They also help immigrants to navigate the complicated immigration process. Today, Ranchod Law Group has been in business for nearly 20 years in Northern California and serves clients nationwide as a trusted advisor for employers, universities, and helping employers to attract talented immigrant employees. Contact Ranchod Law Group today. For details on how the firm can help you to solve your immigration challenges, visit us at ranchodlaw.com or at 916-613-3553. And today we have a very special guest, Gonzalo Bruce, who's the Assistant Provost for the Center for Global Education at Boise State. And the university has over 24,000 plus students. He's the Senior International Officer there. And his responsibilities include campus internationalization efforts, program and partnership development, international enrollment management, international student services, and global learning opportunities and international scholar services. So welcome to the show, Gonzalo.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the invite.
So I want to start off on a more personal note. What did you want to do when you grew up? Is this what you wanted to do, or tell me more about that?
Yeah, very early on in my career, I figured out that I would like to be sort of like in the diplomatic corps, kind of like serve, a country by, working in the diplomatic world. That didn't work out, but I started to very quickly after my master's degree, I started to work in international office on the international side of, I get higher education administration. And I really fell in love with that role. So I kind of like came to peace with that by thinking that I'm still working on world diplomacy, but it's a different kind of diplomacy. It's more like people to people. And I'm very committed to that.
Oh, that's so interesting. So what really resonated with you when you were working at the university and made you want to follow this path?
Well, it was a little bit of a combination of circumstances, sort of like it fell, on my lap. But very soon I started to realize that I had a lot to my background was very connected to the field of international education. I started to feel the impact on, individuals, like, how we help students and not only the international students, but also the American students. And very quickly, I also appreciated the fact that it's a very dynamic environment and it's a very dynamic field, and that presents several challenges, but it is one aspect that I really love about my industry, which is, the ever-changing scenarios, and we need to adapt to them.
So it sounds like your international background also played a large part. Where are you from, and what are your roots, and what was it like growing up for you?
I grew up in Chile, in South America, and very quickly I wanted to do something internationally. So I started to learn languages very early on, like when I was 7. And then my first international experience happened when I was 16 as an high school exchange student, and I lived abroad with a family for a whole year away from my home country and family.
And at Boise State, could you tell me more about the international student population, what you do for the students there?
Yeah, So at Boise State, we had an interesting path toward internationalization, but we're pretty new actually relative to the other research universities. Boise State created the Center for Global Education in 2017. So relative to the landscape of higher education in the United States, it's a little bit late. The response, I mean, the need or the idea of creating the center actually started from the need of organizing a little bit better all the international efforts. As Boise State grew so much, in 10 years, it doubled the size of students. Um, it also required a little bit more coordination on the services for international students, the recruitment for international students, creating more opportunities for domestic students to study abroad, and creating more cohesive approaches to building partnerships, creating opportunities for the different colleges and academic programs. So that's how the Center for Global Education started, and that's when I joined Boise State to create the center and bring pieces of the university under one roof for better coordination on our international dimension.
That's so awesome. And I think that perhaps it may be a sign of the times for Boise as well, because I know Boise is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. Do you think that's true?
It is one of the fastest cities actually, Idaho is one of the fastest growing states. We have Boise, Meridian, and Nampa. The three cities are right next to each other. They pretty much, the whole Treasure Valley captures 50% of the state population and is growing very fast. So with a lot of companies that bring talent from abroad, and the university is seeing, the ripple effects from that, but also with the commitment, of serving our state and also our local communities. So there is a need for more, more programs, more diverse talent, and more international students as well.
Right, and I think as companies are wanting to find top talent, they need a pool, and that just fits hand in hand with having a university that's able to offer people who are in the top of their field. How do you feel like the university is able to attract people from all over the world, and what kinds of endeavors are they partaking at the university?
So you're right about the need of the local industries and companies, and the need to find, talent that have an international experience, and some of them, could be American students that have been living or have exposure to other languages or whatnot. International students benefit a lot from that, considering that there's many opportunities for our students to do internship in our local communities. And also when it comes to the moment of using their privilege of optional practical training, many are placed in local companies. Also, Boise has built a reputation for startup companies. So there's not only the opportunity to become part of, a consolidated company, but also to participate in something that has a lot of promise, for the future, but it's not quite established yet. So there's a lot of startup companies here, and our domestic students and international students participate in those endeavors.
And what are some of the big milestones that you've been proud of since you started this program? In a way, it seems like you're almost an entrepreneur just starting a whole new program from scratch.
Yeah, so that is correct. One of the things that, in a very large campus, the creating a new center requires a lot of, people-to-people connection, building the liaisons with the other centers, with the other units, with the academic departments, with the other deans. So that is something, that is very important. And I think in the past 3 years, we've spent quite a big effort on that, particularly in programs where we see a lot of future for international students, for example, our College of Engineering and also our College of Business, but all programs really at Boise State. So that's an important accomplishment. The other one is start building new opportunities for international students to join Boise State. One of the challenges is that Boise in Idaho in general, is not a known destination for academic programs. So putting that in students' radar has been one of our, most concerted efforts. And we have started to build a system for international recruitment, which Boise State never did before. And that involves, putting Boise State in students' mind and also Boise in the state of Idaho. So that has been really a great accomplishment. And by doing that, we have built great partnership with some universities that we may have already been doing certain things together, but now we're building pathways so international students can come to Boise State through credit articulation agreements like 2+2s or 3+1+1, etc.
I think Boise itself is a little bit of a hidden gem in the United States. I've personally visited there, and just the little downtown is so quaint, and it's not too crowded, not too busy, but it has that nice small feeling, but you feel like you're in a big city. And so it must be exciting to be a part of that.
Yeah, I really love living in Boise. It's a really perfect town. Your comment was right on about the size. It's kind of like not big, but not small. You pretty much have everything here. But one of the things that we want to impress upon our new students is, to take advantage of the mountains and their many outdoor recreation opportunities. This is something that other states cannot offer, and most typically other countries cannot offer. The countries that our students come from typically do not have the wealth of opportunities for outdoor education. So Boise State has an outdoor education program, and we connect international students very quickly with that so that our students can enjoy, the mountains, the hiking opportunities, skiing, kayaking. So we do a lot of that with international students so that they not only enjoy living, in an urban setting, because Boise State is right in the downtown area of the city, but also our backyard, which is the mountains.
That's so much. That sounds like so much fun for an international student. Yeah. And what about getting them to acclimate or into the United States? Because that might be a challenge. They're going to a state that's, it's not like San Francisco or something like that. Do you have any programs?
Yeah, we have several programs that may be just for international students from the Center for Global Education. One of the things that we do very early on is to prepare the students for arrival to the United States. And then, our airport is about 4 kilometers away from our campus. So it's easy for us to reach out to them, at the airport and welcome them to Boise, into their new life. We have students of varying degrees of needs. We have students that are just here for one semester. We have students that are going to be here just for the undergraduate program. And we have students with families that come for a PhD program. So every student would have different need, and we want to be, cognizant of the fact that, we want to present opportunities for students, understanding that, we want to try to capture everybody's needs, but it's not a perfect fit all the time. One program that we do from the very early on is to introduce students to kind of like our campus through employment opportunities. We want international students to start working on campus, to start looking at opportunities for internship, and then to start building their resume so that whenever they finish their time with Boise State, that they have many opportunities for employment. Most of the international students that come to Boise State have, employability in mind, and we want to be sure that they start working early on, with toward that goal. But we do a lot of fun activities as well. So we connect students with other units on campus, particularly student affairs initiatives, so that the students not only feel that there's a community of international students or international educators that support them, but also there's a whole campus for them to enjoy and to get integrated. The paradigm at the Center for Global Education is that Boise State international students at Boise State are really Boise State students. So it does not matter if they're international or not, and we want them to start really feeling part of a global community here.
So great that you focus on getting people practical training. When they go out in the workforce, they have actually some practical experience, because I think a lot of times universities fail in just providing theoretical knowledge and then when you go out in the workforce, it doesn't apply. And I know myself as an employer, if I have someone who can actually do the work, it's proven, then I'm going to hire that person over someone who just has a degree.
Yeah, that's right. That's an important aspect for us. And we are very mindful that, students, just the degree alone might not necessarily produce the results that they need, because they're competing with students from all over the world typically. But having those extras, American students studying abroad, American students learning other languages, international students coming from languages that are critical for the industry, international students that have, employability skills like, time management, working in groups, and all of that is very, very important. So we're very intentional about creating those opportunities so that the student, by the end of the career at Boise State, they find all the opportunities that they need.
During this process, what's been a big challenge you had to overcome personally or professionally?
Well, everybody would tell you from U.S. higher educations, when you create a new unit on campus, positioning that unit on campus is a challenge on itself, like from this perspective of staffing, budget, space, and people understanding what you do. But I think that, in the span of 3 years already, we have accomplished most of that. Another aspect, my tenure started just when the Trump administration started, so we have seen different type of languages, toward international students, immigration in general, and that has been something, of interest to navigate with, kind of like policies that may not resonate with, the friendliness, or the openness that we want to share as part of being a U.S. campus.
Can you share some more? Do you have any stories about with the Trump administration and how that's affected the international student population?
So this might not be necessarily about Boise State students, but when we talk about international students, international educators are really in the business of providing opportunities for everybody, and bringing international students to the campus with the understanding that everybody benefits, by having an open campus. So having an open campus means, bringing talent from everywhere in the world to do research, to teach, like faculty members, to be students, and at the classroom level, the opportunities for domestic students would be, that they meet their first global community there, So I think everybody in the United States, in terms of higher education and international educators, are very keen about, being an open society and keeping the universities, open to the world. And, we have seen travel bans, immigration restrictions, homeland security, examining students, social media, and more scrutiny on visa applications, etc. That it sort of like counteracts, the position that U.S. international educators typically, live in, which is kind of like this openness that I was talking about. And that kind of like, it is a conflict of interest, I think, at the end of the day. The policies may have, some ground of logical, or they may be justified. The problem is that, universities benefit more by being open and by having a global community inside.
Have you found that to be affecting your recruitment at all, where people are seeing that the Trump administration has this anti-immigration policy, and they don't want to come to the United States because of that?
Yeah, I think I think we're going to see more in the future. Is it's only been really 2 recruiting cycles after the Trump administration started to create these type of rhetoric and policies. So I think we're going to see a little bit more in the future. But of course, the in this type of environment, students tend to start looking at other destinations, and there are countries that have taken a different route, on inviting international students. One of them, for example, is Germany. Germany has benefited a lot with a very robust, kind of like pro-international student policy, and with robust centralized government scholarship for international students. So that type of things, we're already seeing. And Canada also is one of them as well, benefiting when, we're closing more doors in the United States. Other countries are seeing, the benefits of that.
Right. We're no longer an isolated world. We're in a global market now. So these students aren't just looking towards the United States. They're looking, as you mentioned, Canada, Germany, Australia. So they have other options. Absolutely. And we have to be competitive as well.
Absolutely. And I should just add that those countries like Canada, Australia, Germany, and other countries also have kind of like, cohesive public policies, that welcome international students. The United States has never had that, and it's not that, we would need it necessarily. The universities have done their own thing for the longest time, but, at this time, it is one of the situations where, the public discourse sort of like does not really, work in the direction of where international educators want to be.
And I think this all ties together in to our whole economy, because if we don't have a pool of international students who are generally, in the STEM occupations, science, engineering, and if there's no pool of those students, then that affects businesses to hire the top talent. And that's what's made us such a great country, is having one of the things that's made us a great country is having top talent pool from all around the world to choose from that come to the United States. Yeah. Yeah. And we haven't seen the effects of that yet, because, as you mentioned, it's only been a couple of cycles. But if this continues, it could really affect the U.S. economy in adverse ways.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I mean, even before the Trump administration started, the idea of getting a student visa to study in the United States was daunting for international students. Many students didn't even want to think about the possibility of applying for a visa in the United States to study, because they always thought it was cumbersome. But by and large, United States is the most important destination for international students, and I think we were in a path of being welcoming and being kind of like sending the message, not only by universities but also through public policies, that international students are welcome and they contribute to the society. One of the things that I would like to impress upon your audience is international educators are agreeing with the current administration in the sense that international students actually help the United States. In this policy, or in this world of America first, this is exactly what we do. We want to bring global communities to the universities, because at the end of the day, everybody benefits. The domestic students who come from little towns, in rural America, they encounter their first global experience in a U.S. college, and that makes them more competitive when they earn a degree and they're ready to go for a job market. The same happens with international students that find opportunities to be employed through optional practical training and later through other programs like H-1B visas. to contribute to the U.S. society. So really, it is not about being, charitable, in doing this for charity. This is really about, the interest of the United States. So your comment is right on.
Well, thank you. And what questions or stories have we not talked about that you would find to be important?
One of the things that we tend to think a lot of international students, but, I always stress the fact that American students, we've seen sort of like, even in the past 2 years, and it's not just about, how the world is perceived internally, because there is kind of like this idea of the world being so dangerous out there. International students are, less prone to cross borders and explore new horizons. And I think that that's an area that we all need to focus more and kind of like creating more opportunities, more affordable opportunities for domestic students to start experiencing something similar to what international students do, but maybe not necessarily for a whole degree. Study abroad, is something that I feel, more domestic students could benefit from, precisely to contribute more, not only to the U.S., but also to the global societies.
Well, absolutely. I think it just changes your whole mindset when you visit another culture. I can, talk personally, like when I did a study abroad in India, or I traveled throughout Europe in college. It really you see the world from a different angle, and then that only can increase your ability to solve problems and relate to other people. And so I think you're right on with that.
Yeah, and also the students don't appreciate, a student who comes from, let's say, rural Idaho, comes to Boise and comes to Boise State, they find kind of like, a very different world. Now they start to see students of all kinds of backgrounds, students from out of state, students from out of country. But then, they go to the first job and they don't appreciate right now, how diverse the work environment will be. If they're not prepared to deal with these, very diverse societies, very diverse cultures, students are going to be in a disadvantage relative to other students who come from urban areas or students who come from other countries. So it is really an important step, toward becoming more competitive, more attractive to new companies, to new opportunities.
Well, thank you so much, Gonzalo, for joining us on the Top Talent and Immigration Show. How do people get in touch with you or your program if they want to attend Boise State or learn more?
Yeah, so we have a website for the Center for Global Education at Boise State. We have a list of all of our staff members. So depending on the interest, we welcome, all kinds of comments and direct emails. We have emails posted on our website as well. So if you go to the Center for Global Education at Boise State and you search for our team, then you will find all of us, who work on this.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and you can reach out to us at ranchodlaw.com or 916-613-3553, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to click to subscribe, check us out on the web, and we will see you next time.